Hello everybody, welcome to another YouTube video. Today is a bit different. Today I'm going to be talking about the Sinder situation in my sideline point of view of what's happened and just my own thoughts on it. Quickly, I just want to go over a quick little overview of what happened for those who don't follow this thing on Twitter, which, like, for instance, the people who don't even have Twitter, which is probably a good thing. So about Monday night, going into Tuesday, Nanolis, a very, very talented artist, dropped a document. And it basically says in the document that they're no longer wanting to work with Sinder. Like, if you click on the document for a second here, basically that the first line just basically says, like, I wanted to share my experience with Sinder and Red, which is her manager and boyfriend, manipulating me and using me to drag it into drama. I'm not going to read the documents because I'm sure by now a lot of people have already seen it and read it. So it's very interesting because I have no correlation to any of these people who were actually involved, but like I said, I supported them. I support them as I watch them off screen. So, it's a bit different, but I'm like a sideline point of view, how I'm my own smaller indie VTuber, just supporting others that I look up to as a creator. So seeing this all unfold at about 3 in the morning for me really made me lose sleep. So in hindsight, basically, after the document dropped, what Sinder posted was this: effective immediately redacted, will no longer be managing or overseeing my VTuber activities. He no longer represents me as a creator, my brand, or my intentions. I'm sorry, everybody. I will make a larger response when I'm able. Now, if we look at the comments in this, it's pretty bad. A lot of people really just, the underline is just that she's blaming her manager for most of this and not taking accountability. But if you do read more of the document, it basically has screenshots of proof of Red talking to Nanolis. Like I said, I'm not gonna go through all of it, but it's really hard to actually experience this as it's being claimed, and then seeing screenshots of it. It really does show that there was something going on in the background. Now, a little explanation for what the entire document said was basically, like I said, explaining what was going on with that situation. Sinder doesn't show up much in these documents until a little bit later, but it's mostly with Red. See, now here's the Sinder part where you do see her in the document with the screenshots. But like I said, it's a lot of Red, which is her manager. There is certain things in Sinder's apology where she does claim a lot that she does seem to be fighting back in a little bit in some ways, but doesn't have proof. But she also likes to throw Red, her boyfriend, under the bus in a lot of these statements, and then firing her boyfriend. It's a bit hard to read because her friends even touch upon this in the apology post right here. That has about 22 million views. And I'll also keep in mind, she's lost a lot of views. She was over 300k followers. Now she's at about 289.2k. So that's quite a drastic loss. But you can see Shy Lily posted, Zentrea, 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐫𝐿, Megalodon VT, Tricky. A lot of her friends, including Bao, who I may have just scrolled over her comment, but a lot of her friends seem to be very disappointed in this apology. And now I'm going to give my explanation why. So, like I said, in this apology, she takes about maybe 1% of accountability, but doesn't actually, fully take it. Because she's like, oh, my boyfriend Red did this without me knowing. But then there's screenshots of Red saying that he's has to tell Cinder this anyway, considering he's your manager. Now, get me wrong, if you're a manager of someone but also your boyfriend, how do you not know what's going on? That makes no sense. But like, I go back to the nanolist part, right? So the whole hindsight of this document was basically Red and Cinder manipulating nanolists to drop other commissions with other people. Names who get brought up would be Silverveil at some point, 𝐏𝐿𝐬𝐿, and 𝐏𝐽. And it's basically trying to get nanolists to exclusively work with Cinder on stuff only. Now, personally, I don't think it's a problem wanting to have a, like a personal artist. I mean, a lot of people would like to have the same stuff going forward, whether it's the same type of model art or some sort. But I don't think you don't need to drag your friends in this. And if we do remember going to her apology video, she claims that the only person that she actually tried to exclude from that she knew of was Silverveil, because they have somewhat similar looks in her sight. But I don't believe what she says when she says she didn't know that her friends like Lily, Cottontail, and 𝐏𝐽 were going to get involved. It makes no sense how you would not only just throw your boyfriend under the bus about this, but then also you don't give yourself your own accountability for your own actions, and you're just talking about what Red has done themselves. At the end of the day, sure, maybe, she could have done better with the apology, sure, but I think the best thing going forward right now would possibly be making a second apology, and not only apologizing to her friends individually behind the screen, like without being on the screen recording or streaming, like texting them in direct messages or on a video call, apologizing them directly, and then apologizing to the community, as well as a little bit with more accountability in another document. I think that would be the best move going forward for Cinder at this moment. But as we can see here, I have some of my own posts on my own account here. So I'm going to scroll down to when I first started to react to some of this here. So as you can see, I started seeing this. So this is about April 26th. So yeah, about 5 in the morning. So this is when I was struggling to sleep, right? So I was like, I just read it, and then I made this post, considering I looked up to Cinder when I started making my account and stuff, wanting to do VTubing. She was one of my inspirations to want to start VTubing. I basically just kind of to sum up this little post here was basically, I guess never meet your idols can go in different ways, whether you actually physically meet them or that you just watch them. It could go many ways. And then here's a post I feel like a lot of
it tore me up.
I think a lot of people could relate to this. It's just very hard to watch what this happened, considering not only did she backstab her friends, but it's just the deception and insecurities that she had her own self to do so, and then claim that she doesn't know that her friends are being dragged in. It's hard to read, but then it's also hard to watch her friends react to this and be like, it doesn't make sense. And I know I'm probably not the best streamer when it comes to covering stuff like this, but I'm doing my best to just give my sideline view, right? Because I'm sure you guys have watched, if anybody is watching this, of course, you guys have probably seen other videos, people talking about it, who are probably more drama, attention to it. But at the end of the day, what she did was wrong. And I will also say this too, because I've seen some people really hate down on her, I don't think she deserves some of the criticism that tells her, to end it or stuff like that. That's a bit too far, right? Like, no death threats need to be sent to the people who are in this situation, but I think they just need to be reassured that what you did was wrong. I think there could be a better apology for it, but also, excuse me, a better apology with more accountability for your own actions, right? Because like I said before, in her apology document, there's a lot of times where she mentions Red, which is her boyfriend and manager. And considering that she cut ties with Red in this post right here, we know that she threw him under the bus to put the blame on him when it seemed like more like she didn't know what was going on. But like I said, if you went and looked at the documents, that's not true, because Red specifically told Nano that she would actually know. Like, I can go look for the screenshot real quick here of Red specifically telling Nanolist that he will have to talk to Sinder about this. I think this is after. Yeah, because see, Sinder is now involved in here. Yeah, so see, Nano and Red was talking a little bit more, considering in Cinder's document, she does say that Red also did most of the talking for when it comes to collaboration and stuff. So that's why Red was talking more in here than it was Cinder's. But like I said, see right here. So me and you are good, but I still have to tell all this to Sinder. It'll be fine. So she was told she should have known that her actions would backstab. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit of the memes for a little bit here that we've been reading from here. So the first one's obviously the Google Docky one. I've reposted that one, my own. I saw this one pop up. This was like a few days or about a week or so before all this happened, when she was streaming with Neurosama, how Neurosama actually just predicted this would happen.
Do you have many friends?
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends.
They're not just acquaintances, right?
It's the foreshadowing, dude. And then just the entire screenshot right here, and it's just perfect, like, unfortunate timing. And then the no, and then obviously we all know about the business is business part. Just elaborating on that real quick. I feel like when it comes to VTubing specifically, you want to have fun and make friends all along the way, to be able to like collab or just to watch outside of your own streams. The only problem with this is some people might see in competition how, I want to be able to try to gain more followers, or you see what Sinder would seem to be like was just supporting all of her friends beforehand, and now seeing her backstab her friends to be more competitive and trying to take away the artist who does the models to keep her for herself. That is just unfortunate to see somebody who was very supportive of her friends, considering she talked a lot about her friends. She seems like more of a friend supporter, turns out to be a friend backstabber. It's really hard to watch unfold, but you almost could tell like something like this was about to happen at some point. I will also say, just knowing all of this was about to happen, because I've read people being like, I've been watching her since about a year or two ago, and I feel like this could happen. I don't know. personally for me, I didn't, I haven't been able to fully watch her until just of recently. So now this is a big shock to me. But I've always watched her on Twitch. I've supported some of her music. But just another light touch on some of it is just, the apologies that she sent to the people specifically, which is, to Nano first, bow to everybody who was in here. I don't think you needed to add this in the apology. I think you should have sent those directly to the people and then have more accountability in the rest of the apology, along with actual proof of what you're claiming is not right. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, all I really hope is that, since I don't think she's going to be streaming anytime soon for a little while, let's just hope that she elaborates and takes accountability for what she done, take some time off, and become a new and better person, and hopefully she can make her friends back. Because right now, what I'm saying is that this current apology is not being taken lightly, and we know because we've seen some of the memes. Like, for example, this one, yeah, like all of her friends, Sinder, why would Red do this? Like that sums up almost her apology document pretty quick. Blame it on all on my boyfriend and foreign ignorance, giving an honest apology. Yeah. There's this one. Apology, looks inside. Why is this? This is why I did nothing wrong, and it's all my boyfriend. And then obviously this one that I reposted.
An apology?
What is this one?
They want to make an apology? Google Docky.
I never seen that one before, but I think a lot of people wish for Cinder to, like this one for example. So this was an open letter to Cinder and to other friend people. That's why I chose to retweet it. Because in this document, it's basically just a fan of Cinder's, who basically just elaborated on their own sideline. And right here, this is the part that I think, which I agreed a lot, was seek professional help. If you said what in your apology was true, then vision of business success and how that relates to your interpersonal relationships has been directly warped. Ask yourself when you started putting fame and fortune over the friends that you got there. So this spot specifically is a good point towards her own document where she, tried to apologize to her friends about backstabbing them, essentially. And like I've been saying this entire time, I think, like I said, she could have done better in her own document. And like I said, I don't know how long it'll take for her to make, if she responds again or if she chooses to do another stream of sorts. But I will say she does have a chance to redeem herself. But it's going to take a little while for that to happen. And especially when it comes to like some of her friends who dug in their nails into Cinder's apology video, like Shy Lily, like this one's, I can ask the Gronk AI to sum up this real quick. Because Shy Lily's response was really powerful, and really was surprising. So this just sums it up kind of a little more. Here's a brief based on what basically just the betrayal of trust, the pain, of us as a community and her friends are finding out from this, and then just the public persona. Her figure has gone down a lot since this has happened, and I'm not surprised. And then just her motives with the competition against her friends was not needed. If she really felt threatened about her friends, taking over her fame, that just shows how insecure she was to her friends and seemed more like a fake friend at that point. But considering she's still her apology at the end, she still says, "I love my job and I love all my friends I've had. Thank you for reading." So if she does mean that, and she really does still love her friends, Shy Lily, Bao, and stuff, 𝐿𝐴, she has to make a better apology. I would say she needs to make another apology, and not just a public, whether she makes another public apology or she apologizes to each one of those friends individually in a DM or in a call. That would be the only way I would see her talking back to her friends again and streaming together. Other than that, I don't think we'll be hearing from Sinder anytime soon. But yeah, it's just a bit hard to witness all this.
It won't work. You can't defeat me.
No, I know. But he can.
Fuck you say to me, little bitch.
No. Whatever.
Oh my. Anyway, with some of the jokes aside, though, it really does pain to watch all this unfold, and I do hope for the best for everyone who's been involved, whether it's Sinder directly or it's her friend Shy Lily, Bao and 𝐿𝐴, who's been hurt by this and being dragged into it. I do hope for the best that they do recover from this as best as possible, and hopefully they can regain friendships. At the end of the day, what's happened has happened, and it's all about accountability, right? Like I said, accountability was needed in this apology document from her. She did not have it. All right, so I'm gonna watch this quick little video that's about 33 minutes of Rev Says Deuce. Basically just the entire situation, and then I'm gonna just basically react to this whole thing now after giving out my explanation. All right, so let's look through this together and just talk about it more with somebody who's a bit more professional about talking about it.
Here. So today we're going to be talking about some big VTuber related drama involving one of the largest indie VTubers on the scene, and that is of course
very big
Sinder, who is now losing a lot of her own fans as well as some of her...
See, you can tell how separate this is because you see 307.3k followers, right? And if we go to her channel on Twitter right now, 289k. That's a pretty significant drop. And it keeps dropping. That just shows how many people were really impacted by this situation, unfortunately.
Connections to peers over a barrage of Google Docs that were released yesterday that show many negative things about her from behind the scenes, making a very clear picture that she is someone who is very manipulative, she's paranoid, and very deceitful, and even targets these things not just to anyone, but to some people within the VTubing scene who considered her a friend. She was doing all of this, actively sabotaging some of her own friends in private, trying to hurt their career, all to line her own pocket, to make sure she's the one still on top and that these other people are no longer a threat to her. So we're going to be talking about several Google Docs here. We're going to kind of weave our way through them to get more context as we go. And I promise you it's definitely worth kind of trudging through this video to get more and more context, because as you get more context, the more unhinged all of this gets. And of course, for brevity's sake, I'm not going to read through every single document. You can do that on your own. They're very easy to find on Twitter.
Yeah, see, okay, so like I said, the reason why I'm watching this video is to get more context, not just from what I've explained, because I could have missed out a few details that we can go over again as we watch this video, but just it's just like I said, it's hard to watch this unfold, but we're about to watch somebody help explain this in simplified form. So when I put this out later, it's not just my reaction of it, but it's also my response as a sideline perspective, is if you will. So you guys can always voice your comments, whether it's on social media or it's going to be in the comment section, who knows, on what your thoughts could be about the situation from your point of view.
Twitter right now, but I'm just going to quickly summarize the key points and give you some good context to work with here. So let's begin with this individual right here. This was the first Google Doc released onto Twitter by the user Nanoless.
Very talented
and this
artist.
Google Doc, or at least the tweet sharing it, has 8 million views, to give you an idea of how big of a deal this is.
Let's see if it has more views than it currently has. So in this video, it was 8 million. So let's see. So that has 8 million views currently in that video. $11 million. So it keeps growing daily.
Okay, so who's this individual? Well, they're an artist who works primarily with VTubers, working with some of the biggest people in the industry, including some very large agency VTubers like Iron Mouse, and also some of the biggest indie VTubers like Sinder, as well as Silvervale, who will also be a part of this story today. So let's begin with the intro of her Google Doc. So she says this: I wanted to share my experience with Sinder and Red manipulating me, using me, and dragging me into drama while sabotaging, slandering, and spreading lies about people I thought were her closest friends. Not only do I no longer wish to work with Sinder, but I want to share what I've endured over the years and shed light on what she has been doing behind people's backs to protect artists and friends that may be experiencing something similar. Note, based on working with Redacted, or Red, Sinder's manager, and Sinder over the years, I am sure that they speak for one another, and there is no reason to believe Red was acting without Sinder's consent and knowledge. Whenever I use they or them, it refers to both of them acting as a team. So the first thing to cover here is who is this Redacted or Red individual who's being mentioned many times? And it's important to understand who they are, because their name will come up over and over again, especially in a lot of...
So he's about to explain this part, but like I said before, we now know, because in Sinder's document, she fully says that they were dating. Not in like that way specifically, but basically enlightens that they are in a relationship of sorts.
The early screenshots we're going to be seeing. So this is the redacted individual, Red, as they're known here, and this is their pinned tweet on social media, and they are Sinder's manager. Now, I picked this pinned tweet to show because I recognize this image. It's from 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐫𝐭 2024, where I was a featured guest. I attended it in person, and I got at this convention, especially from the VTubing scene, but I don't think anyone was as big as Sinder. She brought in a lot of people to this convention Her meet and greet line was out the door. Her merch was flying off the shelves. Every event, including the concert she participated in.
Yeah, so what he's just saying right now is basically at, like, you know, TwitchCon, he's explaining that, like, you know, her fan base, it's pretty big. I could say I was part of it when I was able to watch her, you know, streams, or if I never really got to catch much of the streams. It was more of the VODs, but, you know, videos. I watched the videos, the collaborations that she made with her friends, because I watched them when I was able to. But that just shows how big of a content creator she was as a indie VTuber in this community.
Was filled to the brim with fans. She was a very big deal. Now, I bring that up not to, like, gas her up or something, but to show that she is doing very well financially. She is at the top of the VTubing scene, at least independently, and she doesn't really have a need for more money and more fame, as it would seem to the normal person, which makes her actions, where she's privately sabotaging her own friends in the industry, even more crazy, because it's totally unnecessary with her circumstances. Now, continuing on with this red individual, you can see this response to what we'll see is Cinder's first and only response to this entire thing, actually ratioing her, okay? This is from Van Peaches. She's someone who's been around the ASMR and VTubing scene for many years. She said this: I remember playing Phasmophobia with you and hearing Red chat away next to you before you debuted like 4 years ago. You told me he was your boyfriend. Then before we met for TwitchCon, you switched up and said, just so you know, my manager is coming with me on this trip, as if I didn't know who he was. It's even ickier to read this tweet knowing he is your significant other, and that you're probably going to try and avoid taking responsibility for hurting people who trusted you as friends by nuking the red side of this duo. Now this...
Yeah, no. See, now, that's just the worst part, is not only are we getting, like, her directly saying that it was her boyfriend, but just from another content creator's point of view, getting, you know, like, confused whether it was really her boyfriend or not. This just is more proof that she's throwing her significant under the bus to save herself, and it's really dumb. I will say it's just very dumb to do. You should never do that to a significant other. You should help each other out and solve this together instead of throwing one under the bus.
Is crazy. Once again, for the 1,000th time in the VTubing scene, the VTuber manager turns out to also be the secret boyfriend. Many, many, many such cases. But this is very messy because there seems to be an issue of loyalty here. Now, there was another Google Doc that was released by this Rain individual who is part of the ASMR scene, who shared this detailing their experience with Sinder in private, where at the time, seemingly when Sinder was with this red individual, the manager boyfriend, she was cheating on him with this guy via sexual personal messages and stuff like that. And I'm not going to sit here and read through all this. It's very clear, and the context is abundantly clear that everyone involved in this knew Sinder was in a relationship, and she was venting embarrassing details of their relationship to this guy, and also they were sharing sexual messages and seemingly also, like, not safe for work.
Oh my. I forgot about this part that I didn't explain earlier. Oh, it got worse. Oh my. Dude. I'm baffled, bro. Like, obviously he said that, like, you can see right here, this experience with Tashi / Sinder, as you know, if you don't know, Cinder's old account was an ASMR ASMR YouTuber named Tashi, and then ended up becoming Sinder as a VTuber. So she still has both accounts. She just doesn't use Tashi as much anymore. Yeah, I mean, I actually remember looking through this document a little bit, and I read some of the things. It's something you should read on your own. I'm not going to show you. It's not YouTube safe. But cheating is very intolerable. That is something you should never do. And since now we know that what this guy said was, this was happening around the same time as she was dating so-called Red, her manager and boyfriend at the time, that just makes this situation more worse than just backstabbing your friends, but you're also supposedly cheating online. Come on, you gotta do better than that. It's very disappointing to hear.
Photos possibly and stuff like that. Clearly there was that sort of thing going on here. And of course, this person's no saint. They're interfering with a relationship and all that, but it just proves there's a very big question of loyalty with Sinder, and we're going to see that pretty much replicated among her friendships throughout this video. And this is the response. And I guess she's not even loyal to the manager boyfriend, because her first and only response to this situation currently is this tweet that she made shortly after the first Google Doc was released. And it seemed like an attempt to get on top of this, but it's just backfiring. So she said, effective immediately, redacted, will no longer be managing or overseeing my VTuber activities. He no longer represents me as a creator, my brand, or my intentions. I'm
hate
sorry,
reading
everyone.
this tweet, bro.
I'll make a larger response when I'm able. So, as we saw, Van Peaches would correct Sinder in the replies and ratio her, saying, by the way, this was your boyfriend the whole time, and I predicted you would do this. But also keep in mind, with these sort of teaser apologies, where they're like hinting at what they're going to discuss in the apology that's going to come out whenever, it's about what you mention and what you don't mention. And the only thing she really mentions here is redacted, basically kicking the VTuber manager boyfriend to the side and saying, oh, I'm sorry about everything he did. And that's really all she covers. She doesn't cover anything she said herself or any of the really crazy stuff we're going to be seeing in these Google Docs. But yeah, not a very good start. But return to the Google Doc, the initial one from Nanolis, saying this: slandering other creators. I will start with screenshots showing them speaking ill of other creators and spreading rumors while manipulating me. It's all in our best interest. In addition to spreading ill rumors, they also complain and accuse 𝐏𝐫𝐸 of giving their editor too much work, and referring there to, I guess, either a joint effort between those parties or Sinder's, not really sure, but anyways, it says, resulting in the editor not having any time for new clients, which will be important later on. The screenshots below show them showing their affection and appreciation, immediately followed by spreading rumors and lies to make other clients appear problematic to manipulate any future decisions regarding commissions. Now, they share various screenshots proving what they just said,
Screenshots
but
right here.
because we had the name drop here, that is, of course, 𝐏𝐫𝐸 the Whale. He was another very successful independent VTuber who would make her own response
one of her friends
to this
as
situation,
well.
her own Google Doc, because she was hurt by someone she considered a friend discovering all these messages that are trying to blackball her, at least with some of the artists she wishes to work with in the industry. So she would share some of this in her Google Doc, and you can see at the beginning, she clarifies again, as Nanolis did, that because she was close and worked with Sinder for years and considered her a friend, she can say, based on her experience, that Sinder and Red collaborate to the extent in which Red operates as her primary point of contact in her professional and personal projects.
See, so that's what I said earlier was, I remember reading in one of the documents, and that Sinder basically showed this, will explain this as well, that Red did that in the sense that he operated as her main point of contact for professional and personal projects. So if something were that to happen, then there would be no excuse on the fact that if whatever he was doing, you would know about, right? You should know what he was doing if he's your primary contact, unless he hid from you what he was talking about. I don't know, man. It seems like it just gets worse and worse and worse.
And they believe that basically any effort done by Red is something that was known about and approved by Sinder, which
Right.
is not
We know that
surprising
part.
given the fact it's the manager boyfriend.
Right.
Okay, so
See?
let's get into some
Exactly.
of the things that were said about 𝐏𝐽. So in March of 2024, I announced that one of my subathon goals was a live 2D model. Nanolith was going to be the live 2D illustrator. So if you're not familiar with what that means, basically, she set a sub goal where she would Nanolith.
We know what that means. Essentially, it's just explaining that that she just did something, one of her goals, that somebody can win, just something like that.
Mental capacity to continue my
that.
model. I was very sad as I had not only teased a screenshot of the model sketch on Twitter, but I had also grown very attached to the design and showed it to all my friends in a private group chat that Sinder was a part of. I shared how devastated.
See, again, Sinder was a part of this group chat, therefore she should have known what Red was talking about. If she claimed that she didn't know what Red was doing. Again, just more evidence that she was, lying about not her friends being in it, considering this guy's talking about, Red's talking about 𝐏𝐽 and some other blanked names, which we know would be Cotton and Silverveil.
I was, and she did not comment or say anything despite others in the group chat comforting and reassuring me. I now realize that the reason for her silence was because Sinder and Redacted were deliberately sabotaging ongoing commissions and blocking VTubers such as myself from having access to art from Nanolith. So you can see this screenshot that we'll see multiple times throughout these docs here. Basically trying to set up an exclusivity deal with Nanolith. So Redacted here saying, what about we pay you X and you don't have to discount it from the next payment, and we'll continue giving you lots of model work, I think like around 4 years right now, but you don't work with 𝐏𝐽, a censor name at all again. Models or art. I don't think you've ever done anything with 𝐏𝐽 before. Also, we have some other work, yada, yada, yada. So what they're trying to say is, if you agree to this, we'll pay you a certain amount to just work exclusively with us and not with anyone else in the industry, which is already...
See, now, like that's what I said before, is like, I don't see, Red and Sinder, I don't see the problem with the fact that they wanted to work exclusively with Nano, but they didn't need to throw Cinder's friends under the bus to do that. They could have just said, hey, we'll pay you this much per year to make stuff for us for this much a year,
Kind of a potentially scummy move, right? You're trying to keep this artist. Someone having an exclusive artist isn't exactly a crazy thing,
right?
But in this case it is, because one of the targets, 𝐏𝐽, was their friend. They're basically chopping off contact with an artist that 𝐏𝐽 already works with through this exclusivity agreements. And that is something pretty messed up, if you ask me. Trying to literally sabotage their own career and some of their activities so they can basically keep reins on this artist, because they don't want this artist to enhance the careers of the people around them. But they get even crazier down here. They say, we could do it when blank asks for art, you tell her no, and then tell us to buy another art piece. So you get another job from it. Which we'll find out, spoiler alert, this is Silverveil, by the way. Yep. They're so hung up on this exclusivity thing, they'll literally just make up things to commission just to make sure these other parties are not getting anything from this artist. It's a pretty crazy endeavor that they're going for with this stuff. But let's talk about the other things that were said about 𝐏𝐽. There's a bunch of screenshots. Again, I'm just going to sum them up for the sake of brevity here, where they tried to pepper Nanolith with a very negative image of 𝐏𝐽. And then they present the exclusivity agreement. They want to make it seem like 𝐏𝐽 is this unreliable, bad person who's going to ultimately be a disappointment for Nanolith. So you might as well sign this exclusivity agreement with us. That's what they were going for. They were saying stuff about how she's been trying to take away some of their editors, that they're convinced that she tried to convince these editors to no longer work with Redacted and Sinder, and that she's trying to bark up the tree of one of their live 2D animators, and that it's so annoying and that she has all these issues. It's really just lined out here. She's been getting on their nerves for a while. She hijacked their YouTube editor, constantly picking up artists that they work with, barking up the tree of the live 2D animators.
Now, like I've watched a person react about this. Like Bao got the same editor for her YouTube videos as Sinder. See, like I don't see what the problem with that would be. Like you know, shouldn't you be happy that someone that you work with is, you know, getting more work, like, you know, getting more business? Like that's something you should be happy about, and not, you know, mad or, you know, feeling insecure about. That's just something you should be supportive of your friends, like how she was before all this stuff started happening.
And also, as pointed out right down here, she has a way of guilt-tripping people to get her way, which is an incredibly ironic thing for Redacted to be saying in this context. But as you can see, it just continues on and on with more things, trying to basically push down these other creators and form this exclusivity agreement that will ultimately work to the benefit of Sinder and to the detriment of the other potential
It's so
clients.
unfortunate, dude.
But of course,
Really,
you had
really
that whole
unfortunate.
thing where they had to cancel their endeavor with Bao. They had this model in the works, and they had to come out of nowhere and basically say, "Yeah, I gotta cancel this because, well, I have these issues going on, and I don't have time for it, the capacity for it." And again, it serves towards this exclusivity agreement, which, again, let's shift gears back to the original Google Doc. I know it's like all over the place, but that's how we're working through this stuff. There is a section about exclusivity and blacklisting other creators. And you can see in the messages below, they mention wanting an exclusivity contract, but they didn't want to pay for exclusivity, but rather when a creator from their blacklist comes asking for a commission, they would guarantee me model work for Sinder only, and if anyone asked for my commissions, they commissioned me instead to compensate for not working with other creators. This felt very strange, given that one of the accusations they made was overworking their editor, yet their solution to me working with other creators.
Is that why Sinder had so many models? It was because she had canceled with other people to make another model for Sinder. Considering like what she has, like 8 to 10 models or something, like, dude. It's so crazy to read that, and then just, you know, knowing that it unfolded and we're like only a sideline view of this, watching it happen. It's like, it's crazy to actually go in more depth about it.
Was for them to essentially overwork me to keep me from working on other projects. And again, yes, the irony is pretty palpable here, but again, referring to some of the stuff down here, the pressure that they're trying to line up over this whole exclusivity thing is crazy. You also see one of our concerns is that more nano babies means nano models don't have the same value anymore. So in case you don't know what the nano babies things means, it basically means one of the VTuber models she created, that they would be referred to as nano babies, right? And they're trying to put pressure on nanolists, saying if you keep making more models and you keep working with more people and, you know, making a living for yourself.
An estimated 2.2.
Essentially, what he's basically saying is like, other people who get models by Nano are considered to be nano babies under their models creator.
These models less valuable for Sinder, and you're gonna hurt her bottom line. You can see the angle they're going for right there, but there's also some more redacted sections over here. But Sinder herself would respond to this whole point about the nano babies not having the same value anymore, and she would say this in response to Nanolist saying, "Hey Sinder, hope you're doing okay. I talked with Red, and I believe he talked to you already."
Yeah, so this is the part where I said earlier, and I showed that this is the part where Sinder in this group chat starts talking now. So this is the part where she knew what was happening. So there's no excuse why she can't say, like, I didn't know this was happening. She knew because she was right in here explaining.
I thought it would be best if I just checked here personally. Actually, I wanted to know better your thoughts because Red tried to talk to me, and I think I misunderstood things. They ask, what's up? And they say, oh, it's mostly this, referring to the diminishing value of these nano babies as they work with more clients. I thought on canceling some models because of it, but then I realized it's not really fair to me. They're starting to realize, wait a second, this isn't very fair. Where Sinder responds by saying, I understand what he means, but at the end of the day, it's just business. That is the quote that people are taking away from this. We've heard other infamous quotes in the VTubing scene that have back.
Dude, that's the meme. One of the memes that come out of it all the time is it's just business. See, now that also shows that she saw her friendship with not just this Nanos person as the model maker, but like her actual friends that she streamed with multiple times. That it was just more like business and competition to her. Oh, dude, you shouldn't be seeing friendships like this in content creation that way. You should see it as more like you just want to, work with more people and have fun and cheer them on when they get bigger with like more, more views, more, subscribers, followers. You should be happy and rooting for them, whether they have the same look, model creator or art style or color scheme or, same whatever, whether it's same or different. You shouldn't be fighting it as a competition. It's more like this is not really like, it's more like a hobby or sometimes a job for some people who are really popular. It's like there's no need to make it a competition. It's just for fun. You shouldn't be making a competition out of it.
Fired or presented themselves is very ironic with context, but the whole thing about it's just business at the end of the day is a perfect summation of what's going on here. It's all just business to Sinder, and that's okay, right? On its face, it's okay to treat this like a business and to try to maximize your opportunities.
Sure.
But when you're already at the top of the VTubing scene and you're privately going around and sabotaging the careers of your own friends and other peers, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy behavior.
Bad
Now,
behavior.
Let's go back to this right here. You're seeing some more redacted names. Don't work with blank ever again. Down here, again, you don't work with these people ever again. And there was also this mention about when someone asked for art, this particular individual. Well, we know who this individual is now. It is 𝐒𝐫𝐴, another person who is very popular in the VTubing scene and really just content creation in general. And she made her own statement about this because based on context, she figured out a lot of these mentions were about her. But this is an interesting one because she's not friends with Sinder. In fact, a lot of the details we're going to see is a lot of pressure being put on 𝐒𝐫𝐴 by Sinder to form a business relationship or a forced friendship, really just for financial opportunities that leaves 𝐒𝐫𝐴 uncomfortable and constantly rejecting Sinder and her ideas regarding those things I just mentioned. But let's begin with the intro from 𝐒𝐫𝐴, saying her intention is to give herself closure of these events that personally affected her. I debated if I wanted to even say anything after being asked if I wanted my name in the original document censored, as the situation is much bigger than just my personal experience. However, after finding out how wide and extensive the transgressions were, I feel the need to give clarity to my situation and how I was personally affected. I want to note, as others have, that a majority of the messages are from redacted Sinder's manager. I find it impossible that he acted solely on his own intentions without Sinder's knowledge or consent, given the extent to which he has represented her publicly and professionally. And she talks about some of these.
See, right there, like that's the part that Sinder tried saying in her own statement, is that, like, since Red, her manager and boyfriend, acted without her but he also told her it's like there's more evidence showing that there's no way that she should have known when she's claiming that she didn't. It's just so crazy that, like, she have to known. It's so annoying.
Situations involving things we've already talked about, but the reveal that this exclusivity agreement not only targeted 𝐏𝐫 and this censored name, but also Silver, and then directly mentions Silvervale down here, saying if Silver ever asks for art, you tell her no, and then we'll buy you another piece of art. Like I said, literally burning their own money just to make sure Silvervale doesn't have an opportunity to work with this artist.
That's so
pretty
dumb.
Wild stuff.
Yeah.
But of course, we look through everything, and it's getting pretty unhinged. So, down here we see Sinder making a claim that we'll see repeated multiple times. So, when Nanolis starts saying that they're sorry for stepping back on this exclusivity deal, that they wanted to apologize personally to Sinder, and that they've talked with Red as well, and they don't want to be dragged into personal issues and drama and stuff like that, and that they don't want to basically abandon Silvervale as a client, and it's destroying their mentality to do that kind of a deal. Sinder says, I get it, Nano,
Trying to getting her out of
and it was unfair to push this on you, but it's just really confusing going back and forth about it. I just get compared to her a lot, even still today, and it's like I'm always living in someone's shadows, which is one reason why Red asked you about not making any more models for her. So you can see that this comparison to Silvervale is just living rent-free in her mind, and also just speaking casually here, like I don't really get the connection that much, and also I would say Cinder really shouldn't be so threatened by everyone around her. Like I said, she's up at the top. I don't know why she's so hostile to every.
See, you're making a good point. Like, she's one of the most popular indie VTubers. There's no reason to feel threatened about your popularity. You're already at one of the top most, not just viewed, but most followed and subscribed, channel. Maybe not on YouTube, but maybe on Twitch. Like, there should be no threat towards your popularity and fame on this stuff. Like, that's like the manipulation part right there. It's, oh my god, it's so hard to watch this and get explained to it even more, knowing that it's not true what Cinder is saying. It's crazy, and then just him explaining it like it's like, oh my god, it's just more manipulation that they're trying to put on Nanolis here. When we were reading this, it's crazy, and I feel bad for even Silver and 𝐏𝐫 and Cottontail and anyone else who was put into the situation. It's so dumb and unfortunate that Cinder had to put them like this, that she felt threatened about her popularity and fame just because of one artist who makes models. Like a competition. It doesn't need to be a competition between your friends. It should never be.
Everyone that's even close to her. But of course, this mention of someone kind of ripping off their brand, reminding people too much of themselves or being compared to, is something we've seen before with Yantails here. Okay, someone from the ASMR scene pointing out that a couple years back, they were dogpiled by their community, by Cinder's community, because she decided to make a Cuddles with a Lonely Hellhound ASMR audio. Okay, so in case it wasn't clear already, Cinder has a Hellhound themed VTuber, and people in her community, seeing that someone had the audacity to try to claim any sort of ownership of a Hellhound concept, even making an ASMR roleplay audio using the concept of a Hellhound, they thought that was ripping off Cinder. And people in the community were saying stuff like, you're cringe, she was getting dogpiled, had to remove a lot of this stuff because of the overwhelming dogpiling. And you can see on tweets like this, liked by Sinder. And also redacted as well. Not too surprising. But this pettiness and this crazy notion that she owns the concept of a hellhound and is supporting people dogpiling on this other creator because she dared to use the concept for an ASMR roleplay is wild. The unbelievable pettiness is crazy, and also just reminiscent of a better time when likes were public. Miss those days. It used to be such a good tool. But let's go back to the art or the Google Doc from 𝐒𝐿Veil. And this is the most brutal section. If you hung in there for the, 25 minutes we've been talking, okay, this to me is the most brutal, hard watch of this. And
grab your popcorn, people, because this is going to be the most brutal part. Prepare yourselves, all right? Because I know a little bit about... This is going to be a little bit more of a refresher on this part in this section, because I don't remember reading this part. And if I have read it, like I said, I don't remember it. But this is going to get crazy. Because this is the part where, I guess, Sinder finds the content creation to be more of like competition. Like you said, it's going to be more hard to watch. So bear with me and everybody else here. All right.
Entire thing. It's just embarrassing. And again, the grief. Discovering that all of this was going on behind the scenes has been gut-wrenching. I didn't know Sinder. We weren't friends. And we have barely talked. Even writing this, I do not understand what I could have possibly done to warrant the level of malice and cruelty shown. In our private interactions, I was cordial as possible, but I just wasn't interested in associating with her professionally or being her friend. From the few uncomfortable interactions I did have with her, I had gotten the vibe that her primary goal was to climb the social and content ladder and grow her brand. And she goes on to say, like, okay, if you want to do that, that's fine, but I just don't want to be associated with someone like that at all. Just trying to pretend to be a friend for the purposes of growing their brand. So then we get this screenshot saying the only time I had actually talked to her directly was during my meet and greet at TwitchCon 2023. I had just finished my meet and greet, and as I was wrapping up, she walked directly to the screen to meet me and had someone else take a picture of us together. I was not informed of this picture or asked permission for it, and only knew about it once I saw it on Twitter later on. And you can see Sinder cosplaying her own character talking to 𝐒𝐿Veil on the meet and greet, the virtual meet and greet, and she captioned it, "Stop by to say hi after my meet. Wolf girls," like trying to imply like they're united and they're in this together, even though this was the first conversation they ever had. It's like a very lame attempt to present this fake friendship or a fake mutual respect here, and to somehow maybe try to gain some of her community as a result. Very strange stuff. And you can see later on there'd be more discussions. I believe this is 𝐒𝐿Veil's manager saying, also, Sinder really loved meeting you and wanted to collab, so I told her I'd let you know and I could throw you guys in a group chat if you're interested. And 𝐒𝐿Veil would say, "Hello, I appreciate the sentiment, but I don't prefer collabs." And the manager says, "No worries. I hope you're having a good weekend." And 𝐒𝐿Veil says, "Aw, thanks. Still busy with a lot of IRL stuff. Sorry for not being interested in collabs. I just like to do my own thing, but I'm always open to messages, yada, yada, yada." So then after that, Sinder would then reach out directly to 𝐒𝐿Veil and have this private DM saying, "Hi, Silver. Sorry for getting back to you late. I've been super sick from TwitchCon, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, no worries if you don't prefer to stream together. My manager suggested something more like sponsorships, merch, music, or some kind of other project together that maybe Mythic could help with if needed. I'd love to chat more."
Again, she uses my manager. Sinder uses my manager when it's probably her idea. Trying to, again, using her manager and boyfriend for things. Oh my god, dude. it's like a full circle of disappointment. Like, I don't know.
Either way.
Wait.
And Silvervale responds by saying,
Wait, how long is it? 25, 29. Oh my god, dude, she got ghosted for 4 days and then got responded. Oh my god. Maybe she's a bit salty that she didn't get the collaboration.
no worries, it's been super hectic and busy for everyone. I hope you're feeling better. I'm really flattered by the persistence, but I'm just not interested in transactional relationships with anyone. I hope you can understand. So they saw all the context of these interactions between the managers and then through Sinder herself and said, you're proposing a transactional relationship. Like every aspect of this, even the interacting here is just part of a transactional relationship. And I don't want that. Basically, go away. Based? Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, she came up with the phrase Twitter freaks like 2 years ago, but this is up there with that. Pretty base stuff right here. But then we get more comments from Redacted pretty much on the same subject, talking about how, like, at the end of the day, it isn't about how much we can make compared to her. We just want her to recognize, hey, Cinder's a big VTuber too. She got there on her own merits, just like you did. Get along. And the marketing potential and the money they could make if they teamed up. I love how that's the only part that's in all caps. That is clearly the most important part of this proposed relationship between Sinder and Silvervale. It was all about making money, and when they got told no, they're now coping and seething in these messages.
Yeah.
And they even went as far as implying that some of Silvervale's various projects, like a spinning figure, was just copycatting Sinder. That they were trying to piggyback on her ideas and basically try to replicate it, and that this was feeding into this narrative that people were.
And I believe in this specific section that we're reading from Silvervale's, because he's in Silvervale's part, and I remember this part, because in Cinder's apology part, she even tried claiming that when she was apologizing about the silver part here, that she doesn't own or claim to own the flame part on the model art for like the wolf hounds and the stuff like that. Like, she doesn't own the flame part either, or like I said, she doesn't own the wolf theme or the flame part of her model. It's like, okay, but then why is it okay for you to have this thing when someone else has the same?
Were allegedly making that there's some sort of a copycat situation here.
Yeah.
That people are associating the two together, and it's driving them crazy. And they want Silvervale to recognize Sinder, and that they feel there's an unspoken competition. Remember,
Again,
at this point, Silvervale pretty
competition.
much doesn't even know who Sinder is, and when there was a proposed set of interactions, they pretty much said, go away. I don't want this transactional relationship. I don't know why Silvervale just like completely mind broke these two people, but yeah, the proof is there. And of course, as a result of all this, it gets pretty unfortunate, because then, through this whole exclusivity issue, Silvervale lost out on a model commission from Nanolus. And that is the whole issue here, because this was something she was looking forward to, and it was taken away from her because Sinder and Redacted didn't want her to have the benefit of working with Nanolus, because they knew it was a good career opportunity for her, or at least something special to her community. This whole thing is a complete and utter mess. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's still some other important stuff, but I want to keep this somewhat brief, and if we have to do a follow-up, we certainly will. But the reaction to this has been brutal, to say the least. I think the overwhelming majority of people are not happy with
the thumbnails.
Sinder in the situation. And now some of these
Cinder ruins her friendships. Oh my god. It's the worst foreshadowing, dude.
Old thumbnails from
that age,
their
like
clip channels
milk,
are not
bro.
doing great. Cinder ruins her friendships. My friends should have never trusted me.
Oh, another. It aged like milk, bro.
Here's another one.
Oh my.
My model artist exposes all my secrets.
Oh my god. Dude, the foreshadowing is. It's like. It aged like milk. Oh my. Like it's not even like from a year ago. It's like 7 months ago. So it's not like. It's like it's not too old, but it's not also not too recent. Oh my.
And then we also see that fans are saying, "Are you kidding me? I just bought my Cinder body pillow." And then you see on her Discord server, everything is shut down. They've locked everything, and they're trying to spin some damage control here. It's not great. This whole thing is reflected really badly on her. Like I said, it's one thing, you find out someone behind the scenes is not a very nice person, but it takes on a whole nother level when you're privately sabotaging the careers of not just your peers, but also people you claim to be friends with, or people who thought they were friends with you, but in the end, they were just a threat to Cinder's bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, going through all that now, it's just crazy, dude. Like it's just crazy, dude. I also wanted to go check out real quick because look at this. 289.1K. It went down again. And that's just from minutes ago. But like it's just like you keep scrolling down, it's just more like oh yeah, there's the 𝐒𝐫𝐸 one again. Like so many people. Oh my. My only one option left. Oh my god. Cry harder, sniff, wow, sniff, wow, sad. Oh my god. 𝐒𝐫𝐸. Well, oh my god, dude. Your fans have become haters. I'm still so pissed off anyway. Your fans become your haters. Yeah, I said, yeah. Oh yeah, here's the full clip of the 𝐒𝐵𝐸 clip. Hold on.
You could call me a pussy lover. You're not scared of 𝐏𝐫𝐸, are you?
not if that's what she likes.
𝐏𝐿𝐫𝐸 has good reasons to hunt you down. You shouldn't be laughing.
Why? What did I do?
You were bad-mouthing her in your Discord DMs. What? She knows everything.
Oh.
Yes,
I just met her
𝐏𝐿𝐫𝐸 knows everything. You'd better run. Ha 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 ha.
I swear I didn't say anything. Don't laugh at me.
Wait,
Dude,
don't say anything. Are you scared?
Yeah, I'm scared that I'm gonna be accused of something I didn't do.
Being scared is a normal response to guilt. 𝐏𝐿𝐫𝐸 is...
It's like 2 minutes, but like, again, the foreshadow. 𝐏𝐿𝐫𝐸 knows everything. Dude, for real. Yeah. It's just business. Bro, it can be funny, but it's also like yeah, bro. Like everyone's reaction, bro. It's yeah, man. There's like no end to it, dude. It just keeps going and going. But anyway, that's all I have to do. That's all I have. Thank you guys for being here to watch and view my explanation and side and reaction. Normally I don't make content like this, but I just wanted to shed some light on this situation, my own thoughts on it, and just my reaction to everything that went down, just in case if I missed anything when I explained. But yeah, I mean, it's very unfortunate. But like I said, I hope to enlighten, and I hope everyone can find the light and solve everything properly. I hope Sinder comes back and becomes a better new person, and I hope our friends can rejoice and regain their friendships and trust in everybody, and hopefully everything can turn out better at the end like it did before anything else dropped, like all this again. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.